It's Cece's spectacular October month-long thingamajig Halloween-themed video event. Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm here to do my October wrap-up. So October, it came and it went. It's already over. It's already November. That means I get to wear my fun, sweaters that are not Christmassy exactly, but, a little Christmassy, so I couldn't wear them in October. It's that time of year, and it's very exciting for me. So October, reading-wise, if you look back, if you cast your mind back to my TBR at the beginning of the month, I had all these big spooky plans, and then October hit me over the head, over and over again. So disregard that TBR. I read a few things on it, but to be honest with you, I did not do the best. I had so much schoolwork to get done in October. There were midterms, there were so many papers to write, I had to read so many things for class, so yeah. I read a few spooky things, but perhaps not my spookiest month, and definitely not my best reading month. So, grand total, I read 7 books. 7 full books, no rereads, no graphic novels or novellas or anything, 7 full novels. So let's talk about those in the order I read them. First up, we have The Other Typist by Suzanne Rindell. Yes, I finally read this. In fact, I think someone commented on my review on Goodreads, and they were like, "You finally did it!" I know. So The Other Typist is historical fiction and takes place in the 1920s. It's supposed to be sort of a building suspense mystery kind of book. It follows our main character. Her name's Rose. She's a typist in a police precinct, and then this new typist, Odalie, arrives and kind of sweeps her into this weird world, this underground world that she never would have expected to be a part of. And yeah, so first of all, let me talk about one thing first of all. I bought this book at a queer bookstore, so I have been under the impression it was a queer book. And I've read interviews that confirmed such a thing, that Suzanne Rindell was like, yeah, gay. She didn't actually say that. In fact, one of the reasons that I hated this book is because the author has said some really terrible things regarding Rose's sexuality, especially the fact that she said she didn't think of Rose as gay necessarily, but more as having a broken sexuality, which is I was infuriated when I read that, but also this book isn't gay. There are no lesbians in this book. Rose insists from beginning to end that they are close friends and they are in no way in a relationship, and there is nothing in the book, physically, to indicate otherwise. You can ship them all you want, you can see all the sexual tension that you want, but they're not lesbians. So if that's what you were hoping for, if you were going to pick up this book because you were 1920s lesbians, disappointment. That's what you're going to find. Also, overall, this mystery was so ridiculous. I knew from the very beginning what was going to happen, and then it happened, and I was like, it wasn't even done well. The thing I knew that was going to happen from the beginning wasn't even pulled off well. The best thing that this book did was easily the 1920s setting. It just felt very real, going into all the little speakeasies and hearing about Rose's experience of all these things. That was really fun, and the writing was kind of fun in those moments, but overall I gave this 2 stars. I'm so mad that it took me this long to read it, and I hated it. So the book that I read after that was Shadowshaper by Danielle Jose Older. This was sent to me by Scholastic for a full spoiler-free review, which I have done, and I will link that on the screen if you want to go watch it. I also did a giveaway of 10 copies of this book, and I should be picking winners and sending out emails today or tomorrow, so look out for those. Basically, this book follows a girl named Sierra Santiago. It takes place in Brooklyn, and she discovers that there's this type of magic called Shadowshaping, which infuses ancestral magic into art, and to music, and to storytelling, and she kind of discovers that world. It's really, really good. It's really interesting. It's a little too short for me, pacing-wise, but covered so many issues in a short period of time without making a huge deal of it. Plus, it has an entirely Latinx cast. So I definitely recommend it. Go watch my spoiler-free review, and I gave this 3.5 stars. The next book that I read was one of the books I read for school, and that is Funny Boy by Shyam Selvadurai. This is something that I read for Gender and Globalization in Contemporary Anglophone Fiction. So this book, it says on the front, it's a marvelous first novel about growing up gay in Sri Lanka. That's some of what this book is about. It follows a boy named Arji as he's growing up in Sri Lanka. Arji is gay, which I think you figure out very, very early on, and then he spends a lot of the novel figuring out, but this is also very, very much about racial tensions, and if you want a book that's exclusively about being gay in Sri Lanka, that's not what this is. It's a lot about Arji growing up in a time of turmoil and dealing with all of that. Plus he's gay, and you deal with that a little bit more. I really enjoyed this. I was talking to a friend in the class about this, that we were both really worried this was going to be like, oh, woe is me, I'm gay in Sri Lanka, but it was not about that actually. There are a few pages, like 3 or 4, where Arji's like, oh my god, I'm a terrible person because I'm gay, I'm going to hell, and then he kind of goes, oh, no, that's not accurate, never mind, and then, you know, that's it. Which I really, really appreciated because I was so worried that's what this was going to be, because this is a slightly older book, so I was ready for gay angst. Also, this book is very, very own voices. Shyam grew up in Sri Lanka, he's gay, and I mean, he experienced a lot of what goes on in this book, and I think that that's very clear to see as you're reading it. So I really enjoyed this. I wasn't expecting to love it, and I don't think I loved it, but I did really enjoy the experience of reading it, and I gave it 3.5 stars as well. So the next book that I read is one where Spookathon started. I read 2 books during Spookathon. It was kind of a mess of a readathon for me, but I did finish 2 books. The first of those was The Dead House by Dawn Kurtagich. This was on my TBR, so yay me. I actually finished a book on my TBR. But this is a weird book. It basically follows our main character. Her name's Caitlin, but the thing with Caitlin is that she's Caitlin by night and Carly by day. There are like 2 identities, and something terrible happened with her family, but we don't know what it is, and all of these like psychiatrists think it caused a personality split between Caitlin and Carly, but they both say that they've always been there. They're just like twin souls in one body. But basically this book is like a case file that something happened at the school that Caitlin attends. Something really terrible, people died, there was a fire. We don't know what caused any of that, and so this is a case file that's slowly revealing what happened and reveals what's going on in Caitlin's mind, because a lot of this is her like diary entries, but also this has like transcripts of found footage, which is really cool because someone involved was filming everything. There are interviews and emails, that kind of thing. It's very like multimedia formatted. This was so scary. Like there were so many times I was reading this on the train or something, and there would be a noise on the train and I would like jump and scare the person next to me because this book just was so intense and so scary. A lot of the times I was kind of like, what's even going on in this book? What's even happening? It just got a little bit confusing, especially it was very much pushing the unreliable narrator thing. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it was so much fun to read, and I gave this 4 stars. I would definitely reread it again on a Halloween, because it was just fun. So the next book and the second book that I read for Spookathon was You Will Know Me by Megan Abbott. If you watched my Spookathon vlog, which I'll link on the screen, you know that I hated this book, which is so sad. This was like an anticipated release for me. I've been building it up. It is a thriller about gymnastics, and they're supposed to be like morally gray characters, and that is like 11 kinds of yes for me. I spent years and years of my life as a gymnast, so I was so excited to go back into that gymnast world, but I was furious from beginning to end, and not in an unlikable character kind of way. This book basically follows, it takes place in a gym, and the main character is this woman, Katie, and her daughter, Devin, has like an amazing ability at gymnastics to the point that she's going to be one of the people that they expect is going to go on to the Olympics. And so it's so much time is spent training and building up for that, and she's incredibly young for the amount of pressure that is put on her because Olympic gymnasts are, you know, few and far between. We don't have that many of them. But it's about Katie and thinking about her daughter as the successful person. Then something terrible happens at the gym. There's a death of someone who is at the gym frequently, and so that kind of causes unrest within the gymnastics community, within all of the gym moms and all of the students and all of the coaches, and we're just trying to kind of get to the bottom of whatever this mystery was from Katie's point of view. Katie was terrible. I hate her so much because she's just so stupid. Like, I can't stand it when the main character is stupid. From the very beginning, again, I was like, this is what happened. And then every time something happened that led closer to that, Katie was like, what? Oh my, I had no idea. And I'm, how? Do you not live in your world? Because I'm right there and it's very clear stuff's going on with you. She was just so stupid and ignorant to the point that she must have been forcing it, which I'm sure was some of the point, but like, whatever. I hated her. I didn't feel sympathetic to her. Every time she figured something out, I was like, yeah, I got there 100 pages ago, Katie. I absolutely hated this book. I was so mad about it because I just wanted to have a fun gymnastics thriller, but it was predictable and annoying, and none of the characters felt like remotely realistic. There was this weird incestuous vibe going on with Devon and her family that I was like really weirded out by. No, it wasn't. No. 2 stars. No. No. So the next book that I read, this is after Spookathon ended, but I needed to read another book. Another spooky book, hopefully, and I read Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I finished this on the 31st of October. I finished 2 books on the last day of October in a mad attempt to get more than, like, 5 books read. So, Pet Sematary, it's Stephen King, it's a horror novel. It takes place when this family moves into a new house in Maine. Shocking that it's a Stephen King book that takes place in Maine. But there's like something creepy in the woods. It's called A Pet Sematary and it does some creepy stuff. So that's all I want to tell you. This book is so much about build-up. Like, I feel it could have been edited slightly because the majority of this book was just an attempt to build up the tension to the last 30 pages. Like, there was some other big stuff that happened in between and other big suspenseful moments, but it could have been trimmed slightly. Overall, again, I think that this was super spooky and enjoyable. Again, reading it on the train yesterday, I was like, I had my face in it and I was freaking out, and I was on the bottom level of the train and someone on the top level dropped their phone and I jumped and like nearly threw this in the lap of the person sitting next to me. So it was definitely super scary. I mean, if you want to read a Stephen King horror novel and you want to be scared and you want to be invested, this is a good one to go with. I gave it 4 stars. That's what I've given most of Stephen King's books. He's a solid writer, and I really enjoy his books when I pick them up. So the last book that I read in October is also one that I finished yesterday, and it's another one that I read for that gender and globalization class, that thing. It was The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. This was my least favorite book of this entire year so far, and my least favorite book that I've read in a good long time. I can't even tell you what this book is about because I still don't know, and I read the whole thing. This won this won the Booker Prize. It won the Booker Prize. I don't know why. It's about these twins in India, and it's about forbidden romance. Forbidden romance was involved somewhere. That's it. That's all I have for you. This book was so unnecessarily flowery to the point that I had no idea what was going on at any given moment. It jumped around times, like on the page you would jump from like 20 years in the future to like in the past to the present tense with no warning and no like shift to let you know what had happened. All of a sudden you'd be like, wait, I thought I was reading about these people when they were like middle-aged, and all of a sudden they would be kids again. The kids arbitrarily assigned these names and capitalizations of things, like, because it was from a kid's point of view. It was a disaster. By the time I got to the end, I was furious. I don't give a book 1 star unless I found absolutely no value in reading it, which means I very, very rarely give 1 star to a book. But I gave this 1 star. I can't believe how much time I spent reading this book, and I can't tell you what happened, I can't tell you the point, and I have no idea what I'm going to talk about in regards to this book in class on Thursday, because this was a disaster, and I don't understand why it won a prize. I think it won a prize because everyone couldn't figure out what it was about, and they were like, that must mean the writing's good. I can't. Okay guys, there you go. Those are all of the books that I read in October. Clearly I didn't have my best reading month ever at all. In fact, this may have been one of my worst reading months in terms of ratings. I can't believe how many books I read this month that I absolutely hated. But yeah. So I hope that you enjoyed all of my October videos. I hope that you enjoyed all of my spooktacular videos. That was such a fun little intro to make and write and everything, so I hope that everyone enjoyed some of those spooky videos. I hope you had a really good Halloween. Make sure to let me know what your favorite book was that you read in the month of October, or if you've read any of these, what you thought of them. If you read The God of Small Things and you loved it, can you explain, like, 100%, I'm not going to attack you. I'm just curious because I can't figure it out, really. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye!